throughout the Republic of Kenya. After all, we all serve the same boss, the people, and their sovereign interests are our operating principle and purpose. I will run an administration that is open, that is transparent, and my administration will rely on oversight from this House to make sure the public gets value for every cent invested in every policy, project, and program. Consequently, I ask Parliament to consider a mechanism in the standing orders to facilitate cabinet secretaries to articulate government agenda, explain policy, and answer questions on the floor of the House to enhance executive accountability to the people of Kenya through their elected representatives. On this matter of oversight and holding government accountable, my administration commits to restore the place of Parliament in our democracy by respecting the autonomy and oversight authority of Parliament on the executive. Equally, I am a firm believer in democracy and the rule of law. That is why my first executive action when I took office was to undo a legacy of acts and omissions that had incrementally undermined the independence of the judiciary. For avoidance of doubt, the judiciary is an arm of government just like Parliament, and my administration will be intentional in respecting the constitutionally mandated systems of checks and balances. It is in this spirit that I will be seeking additional resources to support the bottom-up scaling of justice and empower the judiciary to acquire capacity and develop the infrastructure needed to more efficiently adjudicate and expeditiously conclude corruption cases, commercial disputes, and all other matters that today are a huge backlog on the judiciary. Honorable members, to implement the pledges and commitments set out in our plan, my administration is committed to investing in the requisite enablers and infrastructure to provide a sound foundation for its execution. These are interventions intended to create a conducive environment for effective, efficient, and sustainable realization of our national transformation. We are on a mission to dramatically scale up productivity in agriculture and make sure that every Kenyan farmer, fisherman, and pastoralist contributes to sustainable economic growth by contributing to adequate and affordable food, generating greater incomes, and producing the raw materials required by the agro-industrial and manufacturing value chains. This will boost Kenya's export performance and create millions of jobs. Consequently, we have been deliberate in our efforts to restore sanity and introduce greater responsibility in the management of public resources. One significant intervention is the resolve to abandon consumption subsidies in favor of supporting and investing in production. This is why we have made available fertilizer to our farmers at cheaper rates of 3,500 per 50 kilogram bag, down from 6,500. We are exploring further mechanisms to bring these prices down. We have an obligation to redeem our pledge to our small traders, the hawkers, the mamambogas, the bodas, that every person who sells any good or service gets to work and earns a decent livelihood enough to place them on the path to wealth through saving and investment. The hustler economy has to flourish and form the foundation of broader economic transformation while catalyzing the widening of the national revenue base. Our agenda here is to take necessary measures to create an enabling environment for business people to thrive and decriminalize enterprise. Affordable credit makes a huge difference in the rate of business growth. Access to affordable credit is like a magic formula. The current Credit Reference Bureau approach of blacklisting debtors is zero-sum, punitive, and has arbitrarily locked millions of businesses out of the credit system. It is time to shift the formula to a credit scoring system which allows lenders to apply customer segmentation and at the same time end the stigma of blacklisting. We have held productive conversations with operators of the Fuliza and M-Shwari platforms on the modalities of reducing their lending rates. I am happy to report today that yesterday, our engagement finally culminated in undertaking by the platform operators to reduce the cost of credit by 50%, and this is a significant step towards unlocking billions of shillings needed to spur economic activity by once again expanding financial inclusion. My administration will allocate resources every year to the Hustler Fund, from which micro, small, and medium enterprises can access affordable credit to start and expand their businesses. I promised yesterday that we will leverage on technology in the management and disbursement of these funds. And shortly, we will be bringing to this House the legislation and the regulatory framework to operationalize this fund. There is tremendous opportunity for this House to fully take up its role in resolving the systemic issues of limit to access affordable homes and affordable financing. This administration will unlock housing for the nation by doing a couple of interventions. Number one, we will work on the provision of land for affordable housing, both public and private. And number two, we will provide access to affordable and stable financing for those engaged in social, affordable housing across the country. These two measures will allow us to undertake mass housing production and thereby shape our approach to urban development and spatial planning, which, unlike before, will deliver sustainable and inclusive human settlement. I also wish to express our intention to bring to this House legislative proposals to provide a framework for a housing offtake plan, which will create incentives for developers to invest more money into our housing strategy and on the strength of guaranteed offtake of completed units. To actualize the enabling infrastructure, we intend to take the following steps: a public-private partnership funding framework is envisaged for large capital projects in order to achieve our target of raising access to water from the current 60% to 80%. Kenya shillings 500 billion is required. Government can provide this gradually, but the private sector can mobilize it all at once. We will thus adopt a public-private partnership framework by entering into water purchase agreements with investors. I have already instructed the PPP unit at Treasury to work on the regulations that will facilitate the mechanism like we have in our energy sector for investors to work with us on a formula under a water purchase agreement instrument. This way, we will achieve water for all in less than a decade. Concerning electricity, we shall facilitate the development of innovative and effective modalities to provide better off-grid systems, including enabling consumers to form small cooperatives for that purpose. And in health, we are bound by duty to take measures to make universal health coverage a reality and liberate Kenyans and their families from the threat of harrowing poverty that stalks them every time a family member falls seriously ill. In our plan, and through your support, we will restructure our primary health system so that we put more resources into promotive, preventive, and early diagnosis. A key driver of this realization is the National Health Insurance Fund, whose restructuring is not only necessary for efficiency, but also enables it become a fit-for-purpose social insurance scheme that caters for all, including those suffering from chronic diseases. Digital technology has become a critical player in economic growth. We will capitalize on existing technology and innovation in the public and private sector to distribute the Hustler Fund as promised in our plan. I call upon financial institutions and our young people in innovation to participate in the digital economy by redesigning their products to serve the goal of empowering millions armed with grand ideas and are only waiting for the funds to finance their dreams to reality.